to tornadoes and a severe weather season is just around the corner. And that's why I signed a proclamation designating the week of March 26th through the 30th as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Iowa. It's hard to predict when harsh weather may strike, so it's important for all Iowans to be fully prepared. It seems a bit early to discussing storms. I don't know about that after Sunday. I mean, it depends on what kind of storm, right? But it's not. If you think about it, last year, several tornadoes hit Iowa on March 6th. One touchdown in Seymour in Wayne County. There was an EF2 tornado that damaged homes and ripped off the roof of the Seymour Community School, destroyed the gymnasium, and damaged school buses. Fortunately, there were no lives that were lost. Severe weather goes with the territory of living in Iowa, but it's our responsibility to be prepared. And the state of Iowa is already working on its response plan for 2018 severe weather season. The Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management is in constant communications with our response partners. They're busy gathering and sharing information and planning for potential flooding and severe weather threats. Iowa's local emergency managers are absolutely key partners in all of this. Homeland Security and Emergency Management works closely with them to ensure effective responses to severe weather. Another key partner is the National Weather Service. They're busy providing ongoing spring flooding outlooks to the state agencies that are instrumental in our flood response. Homeland Security and Emergency Management is in charge of coordinating the disaster response. They're on standby 24/7 to immediately begin coordinating and responding to any size or type of disaster. And this includes involving both state and federal agencies as well as the private sector. They provide requested resources like sandbags, extra crews, and traffic control to local emergency managers. Our disaster response is coordinated from the State Emergency Operations Center at the Joint Forces Headquarters in Johnston. So, as you can tell, disaster preparedness is definitely a partnership, not just between government agencies and their response partners, but it's also between Iowans as well. And we saw Iowans step up to these challenges, and we see it over and over again. In last June, both the Lieutenant Governor and I were in Marion County, where we visited with several Iowans whose homes were hit by a tornado near Pleasantville. Yes, there were emergency responders working to clear debris and repair damage caused by the storm, but there were also dozens of volunteers, there were friends, some neighbors, and coworkers, as well as just some strangers who came down to help. They rolled up their sleeves and they were literally helping pick up the pieces so the victims could start over. And honestly, that's who we are as Iowans. So before I invite Lieutenant Governor Gregg to the podium, I want to thank our guests for being here this morning, Director Schouten with the Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Dave Wilson, the president of the Iowa Emergency Management Association, and Jeff Johnson with the National Weather Service in Des Moines. So thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it very much. Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Governor. I'm confident everyone in this room has seen the destruction that severe weather can cause. Iowa is certainly no stranger to natural disasters. Since the floods of 2008, there have been 21 presidential disaster declarations issued for the state of Iowa. In fact, one of those declarations was issued last summer for 7 Iowa counties hit by severe storms, tornadoes, straight-line winds, and flooding. Presidential disaster declarations have opened up more than $2 billion in federal funding to help rebuild public infrastructure. The money also helped our state implement measures to lessen the effects of future natural disasters. Like the governor mentioned, disaster preparedness is truly a partnership. While we as a state government are responsible for doing all we can to keep Iowans safe, it's equally important for Iowans to take responsibility for their own safety as well. There are some simple steps that we can all take now to be better prepared in the future. Steps like making an emergency management plan, building an emergency supply kit, or using the tools available to make sure that we're weather aware. For more on personal disaster preparedness, I'd like to invite Director Mark Schouten to the podium. Director Schouten.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you all today. At Homeland Security and Emergency Management, it's our job to ensure Iowa and Iowans are prepared for emergencies and disasters. And so I echo what Governor Reynolds and Lieutenant Governor Gregg have said about the importance of taking steps to be prepared for severe weather. There are 3 simple but important steps everyone can take to be better prepared. The first step, as the Lieutenant Governor has said, is make an emergency plan. Sit down with your family, talk about what you'll do if there's severe weather, if there is an alert that's issued for your area, or if there is other imminent weather damage or danger that's occurring. Don't forget to make a plan for those with special needs, such as the elderly, and for your pets. The second step is to build an emergency supply kit. During an emergency, there are items you and your family will need. Keep a kit at home, keep a kit in your car in case you have to shelter in place or you have to evacuate your home. You can include these kind of items in your emergency kit: water and non-perishable food, a first aid kit, a battery-operated flashlight, and a radio, along with extra batteries. Step 3 is to be aware of hazards. Now, probably the most important thing you can do to be prepared is to stay aware of the potential for bad weather in your area. And when a weather alert is issued, act quickly to stay safe. This is called being weather aware. And there are many ways to become weather aware. You can tune into your local TV, your radio station, or your online news source. Their apps are very good way to become better weather aware. Use a NOAA weather radio to help keep an eye on the weather when you're at home camping or boating or outside. Sign up for the state's emergency notification system called Alert Iowa, and you'll receive localized life-saving information that'll come to you wherever you are and whatever you may be doing. Currently, Iowa has 87 counties that have the ability to issue these sorts of alerts under the Alert Iowa system. In counties where Alert Iowa is available, residents can sign up for email, text, phone messages, all different ways of staying weather aware. To find out if your county is using Alert Iowa, contact your local emergency manager or visit our website, www.homelandsecurity.iowa.gov. I'd also like to mention a new tool that HSEMD, along with local emergency managers, have created to gather severe weather damage information from the public. We are asking impacted citizens during a disaster to use a web-based reporting system to report damage to their property or to public property, and when possible, provide photos of that damage. The information can be downloaded from your cell phone using a web link. The information we get directly from the public and will go to us and more importantly to county emergency management coordinators to give them a better picture of the impact of severe weather in their counties. And by knowing the location and extent of damage, it helps improve local response and actions. We call it having better situational awareness during an emergency or a disaster. We use the same information determine if the damages is sufficient to request a governor's disaster proclamation or a federal disaster declaration. The link to this tool can also be found on our website, homelandsecurity.iowa.gov. So in closing, let me say that we all have an obligation to make sure we are safe during disasters, and we have many great tools available to help us be better prepared for disasters. And I urge you to take advantage of them so that if disaster strikes, you will be prepared. And I can almost assure you that you will be glad you did. Again, go to our website for tips on general preparedness for disasters. There's a lot of other tips available there. Thank you, finally, Governor Reynolds and Lieutenant Governor Gregg, for helping us share this important message. Now, Dave Wilson, the Johnson County Emergency Management Coordinator and President of the Iowa Emergency Management Association, We'll talk about local emergency preparedness, the place where all disasters begin and end. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Thank you, Governor Reynolds and Lieutenant Governor Gregg, Director Scouten. On behalf of Iowa's emergency managers, I'd like to remind you from a local perspective, it's really important for Iowans to practice that plan that they have in place. As we ask people to prepare and ask people to make a kit and be weather aware and have a plan, we'd like you to take the opportunity this Wednesday during Iowa's statewide tornado drill to go ahead and exercise that plan. Make sure that you identify any flaws you might have in your plan. And when those sirens go off, where they're for a tornado that's Doppler indicated or spotter indicated, or whether it's for 70-mile-an-hour winds, which can drop trees and cause a loss of life, or golf ball size hail, whatever that criteria is that makes your outdoor warning system go off, have a plan, exercise that plan, and know what flaws there might be in it. Take this opportunity on Wednesday during the statewide drill to really exercise that. And as Iowans, do your part to be prepared. I'll turn it over to Jeff Johnson with the Weather Service. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's quite an honor to be here, and thank you very much. The National Weather Service is working hand in hand with emergency management and other state and local officials and federal partners in building a weather-ready nation. The National Weather Service continuously monitors and assesses weather, water, and climate conditions across Iowa and across the nation by providing impact-based forecasts, watches, warnings to help you plan and prepare. Being weather ready takes a well-informed and prepared community, businesses and individuals that are ready, responsive, and resilient to the impacts of weather and severe weather and flooding. It is important to have an emergency plan and having multiple ways to receive warning information. Here are some examples. NOAA All Hazards Weather Radio, the Weather Service website, Alert Iowa are just a few of the many ways to receive important weather information. On Wednesday, March 28th, Iowans will have an opportunity to practice their severe weather action plans. The National Weather Service, in cooperation with partners, will issue a test tornado watch at 10 a.m., followed by each Weather Service office issuing a test tornado warning at 10:15. The statewide drill will then conclude at 10:30. This is an excellent way to test your plan and to make sure that if there is a flaw in your plan that you correct it before the real thing occurs this spring. It is not a matter of if severe weather will occur or flooding in this state. It's a matter of when. Now is the time to make sure that your family, yourself, your business, or your community is ready and responsive to handle severe weather if it threatens this spring. I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I appreciate that too. I'd now open it up to questions on this topic.
I had a question in relation to this building in regards to this building. This building will be, I think they usually participate in this, but there's been one false alarm after another to the point that people aren't leaving the Iowa Capitol when there is an alarm. I've heard some people say, someday there's going to be an active shooter here and people are going to still be sitting at their desks. Can somebody address that?
Well, we just need to make sure that every individual knows that when we have an alarm go off, you need to respond. And if it was done accidentally, we still have the obligation to follow through. And so we can reiterate that with all of with the legislature and with the executive branch and all the people in the building, and to just reiterate again the importance of when an alarm goes off, we need to follow the proper procedures and we need to do what is expected.
Jeff or Dave, you both mentioned flaws. Can you give us a couple maybe
You need to step up.
common
Yeah.
flaws?
Yeah, absolutely. So real common for folks is, you perceive that you're going to get your alarm through your weather alert, through your NOAA weather radio. But for some reason, a squirrel has taken out the power line and your batteries are dead. It's just like having dead batteries and a smoke alarm. So make sure that you've got backup. We commonly recommend 3 different ways of getting that message, whether it's text message to your phone, NOAA weather radio, or just a plain old battery operated AM, FM radio. The communication piece and being weather aware is the most common thing that people have problems with. The next thing is probably getting to your safe room. If you're at an office or in a building, sometimes those areas of safe refuge are locked and you don't realize it. Somebody's decided to lock it because it's become a storage unit or whatever. So especially at work, make sure that you can get to those areas of safe refuge. Those are the most common ones. Yeah, it's a statewide program developed under the governor's office and state homeland security. Commonly is used for voice and text message alerts to your phones. It's free to everybody in Iowa, and you can sign up. Most counties in Iowa are part of that. A few have a different system commonly, but those available systems will send you a text message of severe weather threats or an email, whichever you choose, or in some areas it'll actually be a voice call. Yeah, very effective tool.
Effective, especially with people on their phones so often today. Any other questions on this topic?
I ask
But before we open it up to other questions, I would like to address an issue this morning, and then we'll open it up for additional questions. This morning, I would like to take the opportunity to address the dismissal of the Iowa Finance Authority Director, David Jamison. As I've said time and time again, my administration has a zero tolerance policy regarding sexual harassment. In February, I mandated to all of my department directors that all executive branch employees take the sexual harassment training again and have it completed by May 1st. I have taken it, the lieutenant governor has taken it, and my staff has taken it. Part of that training is, again, to remind all employees that if they have been a victim of sexual harassment, there is a place to go and their complaint will be heard. On Friday evening, my office was made aware of credible allegations of sexual harassment by former Director Jamison. Upon learning this, I terminated his employment effective immediately. I can tell you that these complaints were made by the victims directly to a member of my staff on Friday evening. The victims had not made a complaint internally at the Iowa Finance Authority. They came straight to my office. I can also tell you that the allegations were made solely against Director Jamison. There were no complaints against any other Iowa Finance Authority employee. I know you probably have additional questions, but for the victims of sexual harassment, coming forward is a hard thing to do. It takes courage. So at the request of the victims and to protect their privacy and their identity, there is only so much that I can say about the details of the allegations. But what I can do is emphasize again that sexual harassment will not be tolerated in my administration. With that, we'll open it up to questions.
Governor, back in November, there was questions about the Senate GOP offices and their internal report on sexual harassment. And at the time you said, I understand that we need to be cognizant of personal information, but I think there is a way to do that where you can protect personal information. I think they need to do that in terms of releasing additional general information about that report. How is it different here?
Because this is about the victims. This is about victims that came to me and identified sexual harassment, and they ask it to be remain confidential. So this is hard, and it takes a lot of courage to do this. And I want to make sure that every employee knows that this is a safe environment. It is an expectation of this administration that there will be zero tolerance. And I want them to feel comfortable going to the person that they need to file that complaint. So it's not about the story, it's about the individual, and to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident in exposing what they have been exposed to.
Given the confidentiality that you're talking about, are you able to tell us whether there have been any other complaints against Mr. James?
Not that I'm aware of.
You didn't find out about this till Friday night. How were you able to terminate him so quickly?
I found out about it on Friday, and we took action on Saturday.
How did it happen so fast?
Well, listen, the allegations were against a director. He is an at-will employee, and so I took action on Saturday.
So there's no, it's just not a lot of fact finding or researching or whatever. So
He's an at-will employee. It was a director. I have a zero tolerance policy. I've made that extremely clear. I requested everybody retake the sexual harassment training, which helps individuals identify what that entails. It makes it very clear in the training and who you can go to respond. And so the expectations were extremely clear.
Governor, you mentioned at one time you mentioned employee, then another time you mentioned the word employee. So was there more than, were we talking about multiple employees or just one individual?
I said victims.
There are victims. Can you just, when were these problems first reported? Did you actually talk with the victims yourself?
First of all, I said it. If you listened, I said they were reported on Friday night to my chief of staff. I was made aware of it by my chief of staff. I asked that everybody meet Saturday morning. I met with the chief of staff, my senior legal counsel, Janet Phipps, and David Roeder. And I took action by the afternoon.
Governor, did Director Jameson complete the sexual harassment?
It is my understanding that yes, and everybody in the office had completed that. And I asked the directors to notify our office when it has been complete.
Governor,
Again, this is important, though. It's important that the victims know what that entails and that they have an understanding of who they report to and what that process is. And that's what happened. So I
Did you
step in the right direction. I have not.
You and Mr. have been going on a while, or just?
I am not going to, I've told you what I'm going to tell you.
You and Mr. Jameson having treasurers at
Yep.
the same time.
Mhm.
You were statewide candidates in 2010.
Yep.
Was this a surprise to you?
You know, I have a zero tolerance policy and it's not selective. So I think that speaks for itself.
Governor, does the governor's office have any reason to believe Mr. Jameson ever had an intimate or inappropriate relationship with any current state employee or a state official?
I'm not going to comment on that. I have no knowledge of that.
Governor, how do you know that this is it in terms of state government and some of these issues? Is there something that you're?
Well, I hope this sends a really strong message. I think it does. I said in my condition of the state, I've said over and over, I have a zero tolerance policy. I can't legislate morality. I can't pass a law that says everybody treats everybody with respect, but I can lead and I can set an expectation. And that's what I did. I heard about it and I took action. And that should let every employee know that if they are experiencing this, that it won't be tolerated and they have a safe place to go to file that complaint. And if they do, they will be heard and action will be taken. And that's what happened. That simple. Friday night, Saturday morning we met, we walked through the process and he was terminated Saturday afternoon.
Governor, beyond being professional colleagues for a long time, you and Mr. Jameson have been friends for years, have you not? I mean, do you see this as a personal betrayal or?
I'm not good. This isn't about me. This is about the victims. This is about the individuals that came forward to talk about a difficult situation that they had been put in. So it's about the victims. So again, we can go over and over about details and what you expect, but the bottom line is what I expect the employees of the state of Iowa to feel comfortable and confident that if they come to me in confidence with what they are saying they're experiencing in sexual harassment, that they will be heard and action will be taken.
These victims came to their chief of staff rather than reporting it internally at the finance authority. Did they attempt to report it internally or did they?
I believe I said that they did not. And they knew the process and they know that there's alternatives that they can go to, and that's part of the training. And so they came directly to my office.
So those that allow that they can come right to your office?
We have an HR director. Every agency has an alternative individual that they can go to, or they can come directly to our office, and they did.
Do you feel at this point that the training that you went through is sufficient?
Well, they just completed it. And they were able to come and, talk about the sexual harassment that they had received. And so I think we can continue to take a look at it, but it appeared that it worked.
Governor, I understand that Mr. Jameson is an at-will employee, but what steps were taken to verify these claims?
He is an at-will employee. I have a zero tolerance policy,
So a
and
simple
I
allegation is
had,
enough to fire someone.
I took action immediately.
There was no fact finding.
They were credible allegations, and that's all I needed. If there are any other questions, I'm not going to say anything else about this. Okay.
Iowa DOT has just come out with a new report on Interstate Highway 80 saying that it would be feasible to finance a big project to build up to 6 lanes across the state, almost $4 billion cost by implementing a toll system. Some people have told us that they aren't very much in favor of it. Some of the truckers, some motorists. What's your view on implementing?
I have no interest in tolls.
You're not interested in tolls?
Not interested in tolls.
Why is that?
No, I'm not interested in tolls. I don't think Iowans are interested in tolls. I have no interest in tolls.
Governor, there's been some developments since last week on China and potential tariffs on some products that are
Mhm.
for Iowa.
Yeah.
Last time you referenced that you sent messages to the White House that this is a priority for Iowans.
Yeah.
Is there anything else since then given?
Well, yeah, we can. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So go ahead.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just that this has serious implications for Iowa.
Yeah. Nobody knows that better than me. It has a tremendous impact on Iowa's economy, and especially with a fragile ag economy. And that's why I've said over and over and over every single day that I can communicate that to this administration, whether it's their cabinet or it's the vice president or the president. The tariffs have an impact on our state, especially ag. That's the first place that they retaliate. We're already seeing reduced price in hogs. And so, there is some legitimate issues I understand with China, especially with intellectual property and technology transfer. I understand that, but we have to be mindful of nobody wins in a trade war. Absolutely nobody. 1 in 5 jobs attributed to our ability to export. 1 in 3 rows of soybeans are in China. And so we need to make sure that when we're doing this, that we're moving forward and we're not exasperating the situation. And I know there's communication happening daily. I know Ambassador Branstad has been very involved in the communication. We are in daily communication with my person in Washington, D.C., who is in constant contact with the congressional delegation. So we all are talking about moving forward carefully and trying to minimize the impact that it has on not only on Iowa, but the Midwest. I mean, we're working every day to expand markets, not to contract it. So we're going to continue to make sure that that message is heard. I'm doing that with a robust renewable fuel standard, and I'm doing that with NAFTA. I've said over and over, I'm okay with modernizing it, but we cannot pull out of the agreement. That would have a devastating impact on Iowa.
Does the timing of this impact the ability of the legislature's view for the upcoming budget or your tax cuts that you want to implement? Does this impact?
Well, I mean, with the de-appropriate, no. I mean, we're watching it, we're monitoring it as we always do. I think I was encouraged with revenue estimating conferences last meeting where they increased the revenue by 33 million. So we're moving in the right direction. But thank goodness we do have a diverse economy where we have insurance and financial. That's a big piece of that. But I know that when the agricultural market stumbles, it has a rippling effect on all other sectors of our industry. And so we'll continue to monitor it carefully. I'll continue to weigh in with this administration on the impact and encourage them to be very mindful as they move forward in trying to really implement fair and free trade. And there are issues. And so they are trying to address those, but we have to be mindful of the unintended consequences, which includes agriculture.
Thank you, Governor.